Call this meeting to order of the Fremont County Board of Health. I do apologize for those looking at us online or trying to come in on Zoom. We're having some technical difficulties. So I'll just ask you to please bear with us. This has been a really trying time for all of us, including our IT staff. So please be gentle and kind. So let's have roll call.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Payne.
And I will note once again, Commissioner Payne is joining us from his home today. He's online with us and on the phone. So let's move to the approval of minutes from February 25th.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes from February 25th.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of February 25th, 2020. Further discussion? Roll call. Or let's stop this meeting.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, move to approval of agenda. Do we have anything to add or remove to today's agenda?
I have something to add.
Okay.
It'll go under financials, and it'll be FEP funding.
Oh. Okay. You may have to remind us of that because I've got a Adobe up and it won't let me out. So.
Okay.
Okay. All right. With that change, can I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
You're breaking up too much. I can't understand anything you're saying.
So we have a change to the agenda. Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda with the change that Emma added.
Let me try instead of moving. There. Is that better, Tim?
Oh, that's not better.
Not gonna work.
That's not going to work for us in the room.
So just shut yours off, Sonny.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have a change to today's agenda from Emma. We're adding a new item under financials for the which?
FEP.
FEP.
P-H-E-P. FEP.
Okay, all right, for FEP. No further additions or changes, so Commissioner McFall has moved to accept today's agenda or to approve today's agenda.
Do you want to do it?
I did.
Tim?
Not speaker.
Is he still connected, or since Sonny was coming?
Okay, there we go. Sorry, got you now. Was that a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to approve today's agenda. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's move into director's reports. We're starting with Amy Jamison this morning, this afternoon. She is our environmental health officer. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Amy?
So first, we have a chemical toilet permit for Zephyr Gold USA, part of their conditional use permit. Should be familiar with that. It'll be a couple weeks through July to October 31st. If used for more than 2 weeks at a site, it'll be serviced.
So you have a copy of their contract?
Yes,
For
with
servicing?
Canyon Rental, if you approve. This is from last year.
And they're looking for a single chemical toilet at this time?
One portable toilet out of town, yes.
Okay.
So you're saying it'll be used July through October 31st, but just a couple of weeks
Just a, yeah.
interim period in there?
Throughout, whenever they're doing their expeditions, yeah.
So maybe 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, kind of thing?
Yeah, and I think it'll be removed when they're done at that site, but if it's kept at one site for more than 2 weeks, they'll have a service.
Okay. Further questions?
No.
Motion?
Move to approve the chemical toilet permit for Zephyr, July to October 31st.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve a chemical toilet permit for Zephyr for July through October 31st, with the parameters being used only a couple of times, a couple of weeks at a time. If it will be used more often than that or longer than that for any one period, they will bring a service in to service it. Further discussion?
Your CUP goes longer than 1 year. That was approved, and this is a condition under the CUP. So I don't know if you want to do annual reviews or just have planning and zoning do that, and as long as the CUP is valid, the chemical toilet can be used. Because this is in conjunction with their
It
exploration.
is, and that
permit.
October 31st date falls in line with the animal where they have to be out of there, so.
I think allowing planning and zoning to do the annual review and to approve this permit for
The duration of the CUP.
the duration of the CUP, I would be fine with that. Is that the intention of the board?
Yes.
Tim? Okay, we're all good?
Good.
All right, further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Okay.
On to closures. We had a lot of closures throughout the state. Retail food establishments are only doing to-go orders. Pretty much any non-critical business is closed. Most seem to be okay with that. We have had some people complain, obviously, that this is destroying small business. I'm sure that you've heard some as well.
Well, they're not wrong.
And they're not.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that you're clear.
But it is the law of the land right now also, I would point out. It came down from the state. It's an executive order signed by the governor. It is the law, so we are complying with the law locally as well.
Well put. And I mean, for the most part, it seems like everyone really understands that it's just something we have to do right now. Kind of on that note as well, we are asking all out-of-town food trucks to hold off from visiting Fremont County at this time. We feel it goes against the public health stay-at-home order. So we're just, along with the city of Canyon City has already said we don't want any.
So I do have a question about that. How is that different than takeout when you're already out?
If it was one of our food trucks, I wouldn't have an issue with them continuing to operate here. It's them leaving another county and coming into our county is, I think, where we're seeing that issue. It seems like unnecessary travel to come here.
And it's very discouraged to travel from area to area. Okay.
So you're not asking anyone locally to close down food trucks? Okay.
Now, if anyone here wants to continue to operate, then they can. We just don't want people coming in from other counties to visit here. And in a couple weeks, sure.
That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
For license renewals, we're actually just down to 2 holdouts that I haven't heard back from at all. We were about to send out enforcement prior to this happening. I'm guessing we want to hold off on.
Probably put that on hold for now. Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm. As far as new establishments go, I did have a question on that. We have had a couple people reach out. They want to open either their restaurants or some mobile units. Are we wanting to license people right now? Or after the public health stay-at-home order is over, start licensing people? Or do we want to wait until after April 30th?
So are these establishments that are going to be doing carryout? Is that what they're trying to do?
If they opened during this time, yes, they would obviously be doing carryout. I just didn't know if we're wanting to license anyone at this time.
Would there be an objection to licensing at this time? I mean, is there a reason that we should not? If we could have someone, even if they're not trying to open right now, if we could already have them licensed and ready to open their doors the day that they're allowed to do so. I think I would prefer to do it that way.
So my question too is, do you have to go to the facility before you can approve something? And what is that going to cause as far as the order or anything?
So for retail food, we're not doing any of the regulatory pieces yet, but for new establishments, I think it would just depend on what that would entail, like where you're going, how many people are going to be there, are you going to be in close contact with people, is it necessary at this point in time? Those are the questions that you need to answer.
I mean, so I would hold off until after the 11th, just because there is going to be such a traveling piece of it. But after that, as long as they're okay with doing the takeout, I don't see a problem.
So I'm good with that too, holding off till after the 11th, and if the order gets extended, then are you gonna extend it along with the order?
Yeah, I would,
I think that'd be wise, I guess.
All right.
Tim, any comments?
I lost him.
Tim?
He might have muted himself.
Looks okay on your end.
Oh, there you go.
There he is.
My fault. That's my fault that time, sorry.
Any questions or comments, Tim?
No, that sounded reasonable to me.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and on to complaints. I had the mobile home park complaint that I got from you. And when I spoke to the complainant, he said that there was water being supplied. It just kind of came into more of a, maybe what's adequate, seems more of a landlord-tenant issue.
What about sewage on the ground?
Soon after that, I got the sewage on the ground complaint, and I referred them to the building department. And I don't know if we wanted to talk about that or if we needed to discuss that further. In my conversations that I've had with Wyatt, he said that he handles all sewage on the ground and has been doing a majority of that since 2008. So,
Well, both of these have been a problem for almost a year now. Is there anything we can,
What did Wyatt do?
I have not spoken to Wyatt since that day when we kind of first discussed it. I know he had an appointment to go out there. I don't know how that went or what was discovered, but I can definitely reach out.
I was involved in those emails as well, and I know he also had said tomorrow we will be checking on it, and I haven't heard back from him, so I'm not certain what's been happening, but can you check on that for
Yes.
us and make sure that that's being taken care of? Thanks, Amy.
As far as our stay-at-home order, we've had a few businesses that have been called out for not following the social distance requirements. I've spoken with all but one so far, and they seem to be doing what they need to do. I think generally after the weekend, we kind of get that rush of calls, and people are still trying to get used to what they're supposed to be doing after an order like that comes in. So I think pretty much everyone is compliant. We have had a lot of complaints / questions around the use of masks and gloves. So we're trying to find some good handouts that we can put on social media that hopefully help dispel some rumors.
Some kind of guidelines for people.
Guidance.
So I can talk about that. So there's been complaints about who needs masks and who needs gloves. We're following CDC guidelines because there is limited PPE. Those who are low risk for exposure, we are not recommending they use masks and gloves because the PPE needs to go to those high risk exposure, which is healthcare workers and law enforcement. So even though, yes, if we had all the PPE in the world, yes, you could wear this, but because you are very low risk for transmitting or sharing COVID-19, we are not recommending that they wear a mask at this time. Now, if they do something in their job that may make them mid or high risk at that point, yes, then we continue different guidelines, but we're following CDC guidelines and that there's such a small quantity of PPE that if they're low risk, we're not recommending it.
Okay, thank you.
And that's pretty much it for me, unless you have questions.
Okay, questions for Amy? Motion to accept?
I'll move to, okay. I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the report from our environmental health officer. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Thank you, Amy. All right, we turn next to our Public Health Director, Emma Davis, and she's going to begin her report with staffing.
So staffing, the only update that I have is that I still have the exact same team that I had last month. I was going to bring Erin to meet you all, but she's staying over across the street. Most of my team, with the exception of two people, that would be Paula and Vital Stats and Emily with CTC, have moved over to COVID response. They're all doing something totally different than what they signed up for, so I really appreciate them and their flexibility and willingness to step in and help. They signed up to do tobacco work, and they were doing the mass testing yesterday. So they're
Good for
really,
them.
yeah, they're really great. We have a really nice medical bench on our team, so we're doing pretty good for now. Definitely at capacity, but we're doing really well. So staffing, no real updates besides what I just shared. Financials, we need to do a ratification of Debbie's signature, I believe, for the opioid overdose prevention program grant, the OOP grant. That was from 3/3/2020. We did receive the contract, and we have started work on that, which hasn't started yet, but we just need to do ratification of your signature.
And was this a continuation, the same thing as?
It's similar, but it's a different funding source. So, I mean, it's the same funding source, it's just a different grant, but it's similar to the opioid work we were doing before.
Questions, comments?
So it's been signed and turned in
Mhm.
for the grant. I would move to ratify the signature of the chairman on the OOP contract.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to ratify the chairman's signature on the opioid grant, contract for the grant. All right, further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. No one opposed. Okay, up next is the FIP.
So the FEP funding, this is the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant. It's a federal funding source that flows through the state that comes to us. This is who the funding that funds our part-time emergency preparedness coordinator. It is anticipated that we will be receiving $63,561 for the COVID-19 response. This is out of the $9 million that came out of the federal government, and $5 million was dispersed to local public health agencies. And Fremont County will be receiving $63,561. It was first discussed that it would be a new contract, but I think they're going to be able just to give the money straight through the FEP. So no contract amendments, nothing that we need to do, just sending it through. So just awareness. We are working on how we're going to do the percent of time, what we're going to use this money for. You can backdate it, but until March, that's when things really picked up. So that's where we can backdate those two. We can backdate till January 20th, but we were covered until March. So just FYI.
Thank you.
Welcome. So for programs, the only thing I have on the agenda really to speak about is the coronavirus, COVID-19. So this was first brought up to the Board of Health at the January 2020 meeting. At that point in time, we were still low risk. The state of Colorado was still low risk at that point in time. The flu was still our biggest concern and our highest risk, but that changed very quickly. Even though it was brought up to the Board of Health at the end of January, in the beginning of January, our FEP coordinator was already sitting on phone calls monitoring this. Still low risk, so it was a weekly call, not a daily call like things are now. Because this is an evolving situation and we're moving at a moving target, we're learning more every day and adjusting our strategies daily, sometimes hourly, on how we're responding to this. So a lot of questions have come through on how prepared is the county. Well, the county public health, we have a flu pandemic plan, to where if we had another flu pandemic, we had a plan in place. That plan was not going to work for COVID, so we readjusted, and within a week we had a COVID-19 pandemic plan that we are executing. And it is a living document. We are moving through this, figuring out best way to respond, and again, just being really flexible and making the best decisions that we can with the data that we have presently. It's very difficult to make some of these decisions. It's about epidemiology for us, and we understand the impacts that it has on everybody, and we're just trying to do what we can to save the most lives and decrease the impact that it has on people. But these are very difficult decisions. They're not easy decisions to make, but they're based off data and science, and that's what we're going off of. That's our practice. So we appreciate everybody being flexible and moving and adjusting to this as we go along. So like I said, we talked about this in January, a little bit in February. We were still low risk at that last meeting, and then within a week we are in it. So it's every man on deck, person on deck. We've been responding to this, and
we've been tracking the time. It's really ridiculous to see the amount of time and hours that have been put into this, but it's necessary. So where are we now? So I just sent out a testing update, and a press release will go out very shortly if it's not already gone out prior to this meeting, talking about our future testing plans. So yesterday we did the mass testing. We tested 46 patients. They had to have a doctor's order, which a doctor had to screen and make sure that they were symptomatic, they were part of the high-risk population, or a healthcare worker. They had to meet certain testing criteria for us to test them. To date, we've tested 84 people. So Fremont County has tested 84 people. We have 2 that have come back positive, and we're waiting on all the other test results. They're still pending.
Does that mean, I'm sorry.
Sorry, how many negatives have come back?
So I think I have to look at my board. So I wouldn't say that there's 16 that we have, and the rest are pending. There's a lot of labs that are pending. I mean, most of them are from yesterday.
Understood, yes,
Yeah, but
yes.
I want to say that 16 of those are negative.
And does this include the tests that the hospital's giving? So that's anywhere in Fremont County, private or otherwise?
Yep.
Okay.
And this number is not accurate. These are the numbers that we know, because if somebody goes to Denver that's from Fremont County or Parkview, we're not being notified right away that they're being tested. We're only getting the result if it's positive. So they may go somewhere else outside the county but be a county resident, but we're not being notified of that. So there might be more people tested and more negatives, and we just don't know it.
Sure.
So the new testing, we will do testing for Fremont County residents once a week by appointment only. So this is going to be based off doctor referrals, and the doctors have all received our tiers. There's 3 tiers, but we're going off tier 1 and tier 2 for testing. If someone doesn't have a physician, then they can call public health, and we'll screen them and determine if they're eligible for testing. And this guidance comes from CDPHE and CDC, and it solely has to do with the fact that we don't have enough tests. We have 200 tests for 40,000 people. So we have to prioritize who's going to get those tests. So what we're recommending, if somebody's symptomatic and they don't meet testing criteria, isolate 7 days, not 17, 7 days. We have all the fact sheet. If you think you should be isolated and don't have the information, then we can send that out. But we have the fact sheet that we're sharing with everybody. But for tier 1, those are people in the hospital. So if you're hospitalized, you'll get tested. And healthcare workers with symptoms. So the St. Thomas More Hospital does have the ability to test their own employees, so we won't test St. Thomas More employees. There's also a testing site in the Springs for healthcare workers and first responders, so we don't need to do those unless we have to. Tier 2 are patients in long-term care facilities or other residential settings, such as homeless shelters and correctional facilities with symptoms, patients over 65 with symptoms, patients with underlying conditions, first responders with symptoms, critical infrastructure workers with symptoms, and people with symptoms who work with vulnerable populations in group or residential settings. So there's a lot of people who meet the criteria, so it's going to be really hard to make sure we test everybody. We're going to do everything we can.
So what's going to happen when those 200 tests run out? Is there some opportunity you've seen to be able to get more tests here?
Not yet. The state is looking at targeted testing, so regionalizing the testing, so healthcare workers and first responders from our region will be asked to go to the Springs. We tested at that facility because they have 1,400 or 14. They have a lot of tests. They have way more than we have, so they'll be asked to go there. We can put in a request for more tests, but they're trying to do away with the mass testing and just telling everybody to isolate. Unless this could change. If the 45 of the 46 come back positive from yesterday, then we're going to be a hot spot, and our resources will probably change. So right now we have 154 tests. Well, we have less than that, actually. We've already tested a couple people ourselves, not here, but at different places. So roughly about 150 tests that we need to make last the next couple weeks. And my team prioritizes those and do what we can with what we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if they don't meet the criteria, then we're asking them to go ahead and isolate for those 7 days, quarantine the people in their immediate house so that they don't go anywhere for 2 weeks. That's our best strategy, best thing we have right now. And the test doesn't really determine, it doesn't change the treatment. It just
says that you're positive, and you're still, if we're gonna test you, you're still gonna isolate regardless of what the result is. It just lets you go out of isolation if you're negative. And you're not sick anymore, because if you're sick, you need to stay home. And then the orders, so all the orders, I believe they're on the Fremont County main page now. I think there's a link to the COVID-19 where you can go to find all the orders and frequently asked question piece of that. We've enlisted code enforcement. They're super helpful and eager. We created a complaint form so that when we do get the complaints of people not following the orders, we can fill that out. And then we have an like what we did for that so that we can document. So if there is an outbreak, we can figure out when and where and what we did to help prevent that. And then the other thing I have is there's a lot of people who are trying to find loopholes in the order, and well, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And that's not the point of the order. The order is to keep people at home and minimize being around people. So, you know, if it's not, you know, I asked Dr. King yesterday about medical procedures, and she said if it's not life or limb, it doesn't need to happen. So that's what I keep telling my team, life or limb. So if that is not the case, then you don't need to do it for the next couple of weeks. This can be very temporary for us. Hopefully it will be a lot longer. It'll be a lot worse if we don't start doing a lot better.
So Emma just made the comment, we're doing what we can with the best we can with what we have. And so I just would like to say that we all have seen how you and your entire team really have rallied and risen to the occasion, as well as Michael Kroll, our Director of Emergency Management here in Fremont County. And so from this board, I just want to say thank you. And if you would pass that along to your team as well as, I know we've temporarily reassigned a couple of folks from other departments to come over and help with some of the logistics. If you would just pass along our appreciation for all of you and really take it to heart, because we are talking to you as well.
Thank you.
But we are talking to all of those folks, and we want you to know how appreciative we are of the job that you're doing.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I really do have an amazing team. And Erin could not have come at a more perfect time. She is just, the front desk is usually the one who gets the most complaints and everything, and she is handling everything besides Amy. It's our front side of that office, the right side of that building gets the most, and then the other side doesn't as much, but it really, it is really well, you know, I appreciate that. And I just shared the projected peak date, and I shared that with you all Sunday. It was April 28th, and now
It's a moving target.
It really
different.
changed just overnight.
And that
Yeah.
has to do with people, the issue of the stay-at-home order and most recent data. So this is changing. I haven't looked at it today. It may be different, it may be the same, but the 28th was the date that we need to hit everything and have everything available. So
As of last night, it had moved actually dramatically up. It moved to like the 17th or 18th.
17th,
yes.
So,
17th,
yeah.
yes.
So it went from Sunday the 28th to the 17th. So we need to push that 17th back a little bit more if we can, to give everybody enough time to make sure that we have enough ICU beds and get those structures filled. I know the goal was, I think, 2,000 more ICU beds by April 18th. So we really need to push that back a little further so that they can get that accomplished, so that people can get the care that they need, and we have enough equipment for that. I know the hospital has surge plans. We have plans for alternative care facilities in place. We have, and I mentioned this before, we have all these plans in place. We prepare for this, we drill for this. So when it happens, we dust off the plans and do what we need to do, and then, you know, sometimes they don't really work. They work for this case, but not this case, so we're adjusting as we go. And I want to say that Stacy at DHS has done a really good job at coordinating the shelter and food piece. Our whole community has really stepped up on trying to make sure that people have food and what they need. There's a realty group who is delivering prescriptions and also offered to help do delivery for people who need it. I don't know which one it is, so I don't want to say. But I know that one of them have done that. So there's a good community pool that has come together for this response. And it really is affecting everyone. It's not just public health or the county or small businesses, it's everybody.
It is everyone.
There's a huge impact of this, and it'll be felt for a while, but it'll be okay.
Not necessarily a good thing, but. Gentlemen, anything further for Emma?
No,
How many test kits do we have left over? I didn't hear that number.
I think we have somewhere between 145 and 150, because I don't know how many that we have done before the mass testing, but I can find that out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
just for the people that might be watching that don't know, do you have that information number that they can call?
The hotline?
Yeah, it's on your board, I know.
I know, I wrote it up, I said the wrong number in one of the videos.
I was trying to think of it too.
Oh gosh, I don't think I have a picture of it either. I've been taking.
It is on the Health Department's Facebook page, the county's web page, so it is out there on the internet.
So for the negative, I can update that number. We have 3. So 2, 3, 8.
8 tests came back negative.
Yeah, the rest are all pending. So the lab is backlogged, which is also kind of an issue, but we're trying to work through that. They're getting all kinds of tests, so they can only do so many a day, and private commercial labs are getting them out as quick as possible. I don't have the number.
I found the hotline number.
Okay.
It is on the front page of our website. So that number is 719-276-7421.
Sarah just texted it to me, so they
Oh,
must
there
be
you go.
watching.
Thanks.
So that number, to reiterate, is not for someone who thinks they might have the virus and they're asking what they need to do, correct? It's
Correct.
for people who are just looking for information.
Yes, and please, please, please do not leave a voicemail with your information and symptoms on it. Please don't, because we're gonna have to delete those because we can't share those or send those electronically because of HIPAA. So please call the 276-7450 number and follow the prompts to get to a nurse. If it's after hours, follow the prompts to get to the after phone if it's an emergency. Otherwise, leave a message and we'll call you back. But please do not leave a voicemail on any other phone besides that phone number because it's not secure and we don't need your information to be shared with other people, please.
Thank you. With that, Madam Chair, I move to accept the Public Health Director's report.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the Public Health Director's report. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, we have no old business today. We have no new business today, so the Board of Health is adjourned.